We should all be deeply concerned about the letter from Sean Diddy Combs' mother, Janice Combs, regarding her son. Janice does not want Diddy painted as a monster. The detailed allegations, along with the years of rumors of his behavior, he's basically painted himself into a corner. Janice Combs, like any mother, is defending her son. She acknowledges his flaws, including his past violent behavior toward ex-girlfriend Cassie and the lies he told about it. This is not a small admission. It speaks to a history of actions that are deeply harmful. As citizens, we cannot overlook these behaviors just because they come from someone in a position of wealth or fame. If we do, we set a dangerous precedent, one that excuses bad behavior and undermines the experiences of those who have been hurt. The real concern here is twofold. First, Janice's letter raises valid points about how quickly public opinion turns against someone, sometimes without full evidence. She's right, we cannot let the court of public opinion replace the actual legal process. But on the other hand, we must also recognize that people in positions of power, like Diddy, have a responsibility to answer for their actions. His influence should not shield him from the consequences of wrongdoing. The second concern is how this situation reflects a broader issue in society, how power and money can distort justice. Diddy is facing serious charges, allegations that, if true, are devastating. These are not just personal mistakes. They point to a possible systematic abuse of power. We should all be concerned if justice is delayed or evaded because of his resources or status. Janice's letter, while emotional, seems to push back against the idea that Diddy could be capable of such crimes, framing the accusations as financially motivated or opportunistic. But we must ask ourselves, are we letting celebrity culture, wealth, or influence cloud our judgment of right and wrong? Can we separate sympathy for a mother's love from the need to hold those in power accountable? We must ensure that justice is served fairly, regardless of someone's fame. We must support the victims of abuse and fight for a society where no one, no matter their status, is above the law. And finally, we need to demand accountability from our public figures, who have the privilege and responsibility of influencing millions. Janice Smalls Combs, the mother of Sean Combs, through her counsel and on the behalf of the Combs family, releases the following statement. I come to you today as a mother that is devastated and profoundly saddened by the allegations made against my son, Sean Combs. It is heartbreaking to see my son judged not for the truth, but for a narrative created out of lies. To bear witness what seems to be like a public lynching of my son before he has had the opportunity to prove his innocence is a pain too unbearable to put into words. Like every human being, my son deserves to have his day in court, to finally share his side and to prove his innocence. I am not here to portray my son as perfect, because he is not. He has made mistakes in his past, as we all have. My son may not have been entirely truthful about certain things, such as denying he has ever gotten violent with an ex-girlfriend when the hotel surveillance showed otherwise. Sometimes the truth and a lie become so closely intertwined that it becomes terrifying to admit one part of the story, especially when that truth is outside the norm or is too complicated to be believed. This is why I believe my son's civil legal team opted to settle the ex-girlfriend's lawsuit instead of contesting it until the end, resulting in a ricochet effect as the federal government used this decision against my son by interpreting it as an admission of guilt. It is important to recognize that none of us, regardless of our status, are immune to fear or mistakes. Not being entirely straightforward about one issue does not mean my son is guilty of the repulsive allegations and the grave charges leveled against him. Many individuals who were wrongfully convicted and later exonerated had their freedom taken from them, not because they were guilty of the crimes they were accused of, but because they didn't fit the image of what this society considers to be a good person. History has showed us how individuals can be wrongfully convicted convicted due to their past actions or mistakes. Watching the world make jokes and laugh at my son's life crumbling before our eyes is something I can never forget. It is truly agonizing to watch the world turn against my son so quickly and easily over lies and misconceptions, without ever hearing his side or affording him the opportunity to present his side. These lies thrown at him are motivated by those seeking a financial gain and not justice. These individuals saw how quickly my son's civil legal team settled his ex-girlfriend's lawsuit, so they believe they can receive a quick payday by falsely accusing my son. False allegations of sexual assault thwart true victims of sexual violence from getting the justice they deserve. To make matters worse, the federal government is now using these lies to prosecute my son. This injustice has been unbearable for our family. The worst part of this ordeal is watching my beloved son be stripped of his dignity, not for what he did, but for what people choose to believe about him. I ask his supporters, fans, colleagues, friends, and the public to not judge him before you've had the chance to hear his side. I beg you to think about those who have been wrongfully persecuted, to remember that not everyone who has made mistakes in life deserves to have their entire existence judged by a single action or a few mistakes. My son is not the monster they have painted him to be, and he deserves the chance to tell his side. I can only pray that I am alive to see him speak his truth and be vindicated. Respectfully submitted on the behalf of Janice Smalls Combs and the Combs family.
So my mom told me, she just said, keep moving, baby.
That's right.
Keep moving.
Don't stop.
She could touch the floor with her palms, you know?
Flat.
Flat. Oh! Take pew, pew, pew.